Hi guys, so just wanted to let you all know that I'm doing well. I made it back from Georgia. Everything worked out wonderfully. I'm actually feeling very happy. So it was definitely worth the expense of traveling. But I wanted to make a video discussing something that I haven't discussed before for some odd reason. People, when they're against transgender people, they tend to come up with some very bullshit rationale and reasoning as to why a transgender person is quote unquote mentally ill, which is not an accurate statement to make. But one of the most common things that people will say is they'll say, well, what if I believed I was a dog and I should be allowed to act like a dog? Like, they tend to take an apples to apples argument and make it into an apples to vegetables argument. Like, they go so out of left field and take this argument to a totally different place, and it doesn't belong. And it's at the end of the day, they think that they're making a valid point, but they're not. They actually sound really stupid, and I'll explain why they're stupid. So it is biologically and scientifically impossible for someone to be born with a dog brain. Okay? It's impossible. We're a totally different species. It's impossible. There's never been a single fucking case of this. Okay, maybe someone sawed open a human skull and transplanted a dog's brain in there. Fine, I'm sure that's happened. But at the end of the day, it wasn't alive. So we all start out female, or a derivative of female. So the thing is that when the egg is fertilized by the sperm, and you start to develop the initial part of you, so the general shape of your body, you start to grow limbs, you're initially starting out female. And that is why men have nipples, by the way. It's that those are formed before the SRY gene is kicked in. So when the SRY gene is kicked in, which is usually, I think, like anywhere from like 4 to 5 weeks into development, I could be wrong, don't quote me on it, but when that happens, that is when the mother's body will start to flood the fetus with testosterone. And testosterone will help form the male genitalia, and start to really form the general, I would say, body of a man. And it would also form a male brain, because the brain is one of the last organs to develop. So the thing is, why is it such a hard concept to grasp that there is potential for a fuck up? It happens. We have all these different birth defects. We have conjoined twins, we have cleft plates, we have disorders with their skin, so they end up having white as bleach. It's white as cotton, I would say. There is so many different known birth defects out there. And, some are life-threatening, some are really just not a big deal. But why is it so difficult for people to grasp the possibility that one could be born with the body of a male, but born with the brain of a female? And that's the thing, it's like people go on to this whole spiritual shit, they go on to this religion thing, they go on to the anatomy. The point is, you are who you are because of what's in your skull. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, everything you are is in your brain. It's not between your legs. So I don't understand why we live in this society that for some odd reason cannot understand that, yes, it is totally within the realm of biology and scientifically possible for someone to be born with a male body but a female brain, and vice versa. They've even done the studies, and this is something that, I don't understand why people don't even bother to redo the research. There have been, I would say, thousands of studies performed over the past 2 centuries about transgender people, because transgender people have existed for thousands of years. It's not This is not some new phenomenon that's all of a sudden popping up because Caitlyn Jenner decided to transition. This is nothing new. Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner is new, but transgender people have existed for a very, very long time. It's just that now, because it's coming out in the limelight, that is becoming publicized more and more, where people are fighting for their rights, this is why you're hearing about transgender people more and more now in the news than ever before. It is the same thing about homosexuality. It was the same thing then, where at one time it was totally taboo to discuss it or even like mention it. It was the unknown or unspoken thing. But then when the rights movement for gays started, it started to become more and more publicized. It became more and more spoken about on the news and in regular conversation, to the point where now gays have their rights. They are allowed to legally marry each other, and that is awesome. That is great. But now the new argument and the new problem with society, especially in America, is the fact that transgender people are being targeted right now. And they are by a bunch of dumb-ass lawmakers who feel that, nope, transgender people don't deserve their rights. And they also fuel this idea and concept that normal people are having their rights taken away because we're allowing transgender people to have rights. Or they try to make it sound like, oh, we're giving special privileges to trans people. We're not giving special privileges to trans people. We're treating trans people the way they want to be treated, which is exactly the same way that cis people want to be treated. I'm a female, therefore I want to be treated as a female. It's such a bizarre concept, right? That, like, why is it that, you know, I'm so fucking insane and crazy to want to be treated as a female? I fucking look like a female. You know, like, it's not like I can go into a men's room ever again, honestly. Like, I will be looked totally weird. I will stand out. Honestly, I'm like the black sheep in the herd here if I go into a men's room. And the other thing is like, people don't understand what hormones do. Okay, and I mean, I'm going to show you guys. These are hormones. So what you see is this is spironolactone and this is estradiol. So this blocks the testosterone and this gives me estrogen. And they're very tiny pills. I take, you know, one of each twice a day. And I've been on these for about 19 months now. And the results are actually quite impressive. Yeah, my voice hasn't really changed all that much, but that's not something that changes on hormones. If you were female to male, yeah, I know a lot of trans guys in person, and holy shit, their voice has dropped, like their balls have dropped to the floor, like holy shit. I wish the opposite was true. I wish that, you know, in biology you could just take estrogen and your voice will go back up, but unfortunately that's not how it works. But the thing is, humans have the genetic code for both sexes. It is a proven fact. It's, I mean, like, you can't refute it, because what I am is proof that if you turn off my testosterone and you give me estrogen, I will start to look more and more like a female. I will sprout breasts, which I have. I will start to get the hourglass shape. I will have redistribution of fat, where my fat tends to store more in my hips and thighs than they do in my stomach region or abdomen. You know, even like, as I said, my skin, like my face is totally different than it was 19 months ago. 19 months ago, I looked like a guy. Now I don't. So, you know, what people need to understand is when you make that argument of, well, what if I thought I was a cat? You know, like, no, because it's not biologically possible. You know, you can't have human plus human equals cat. It doesn't work that way. But human plus human equals human. And the thing is, I'm still a human. You know, I just happen to have a female brain and I had a male body. So I don't understand why, you know, we're quick to throw the mental illness card out there. We're quick to throw the, you know, interspecies argument out there. you're going to sound like a complete moron whenever you do that, especially considering that our medical communities have also really just kind of put down their foot and said, look, transgender people are not mentally ill. The American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, World Health Organization, I mean, there's hundreds of medical organizations throughout the world that all agree that transgender people are who they say they are. So when you, like, and it's the stereotypical religious, Republican, conservative personality, when these people stand up and say, I know you're not allowed to use the women's room because you're an abomination and all this bullshit, you're arguing with hundreds of medical and psychiatric organizations that have already done the test, have already done their studies, and have concluded that we're normal people. We are who we say we are. So what people need to change about themselves is they need to be more accepting. And when they say, well, no, I shouldn't have to accept you, it's like, well, it's not really up for debate, because at the end of the day, medically and biologically speaking, I am who I say I am. I'm not delusional. I'm not crazy, but people always compare the wrong things. They'll say, well, if I say I'm the president, okay, yeah, then if you think you're the president, then you are somewhat cuckoo, or you're just pretending. But no one is pretending to be trans. This idea that we chose to be trans. I didn't fucking choose to be trans. I don't want to be trans. I just want to be a normal person, right? And my idea of normal is I don't have to take fucking hormones to look the way I know I am. And, for me, I want to be female, like born and raised female. That's what I want. But I'm never going to get that. And I know that. I've accepted that. It's a hard fact to accept. I wish things were differently. I wish science was even more advanced where, they could just swap my brain out with another person's brain and they can have a male body and I could have a female body. Like, that would be a perfect situation, but that's not how it works. The point is, I think people in 2016, what I would love to see, and I mean, we're only in February and I've already read so many fucked up articles about lawmakers trying to get rid of Title IX, which protects transgender rights, especially in the schools and bathrooms. You have Florida, for instance. There was this large church group that organized a protest for parents to go to school board meetings dressed in all white. Now, I have to ask, what other organization that discriminates and hates dresses in all white? You could say in the comments. It's just one of those things where the irony, or not even irony, it was just the sheer coincidence that a anti-LGBT group is doing the same thing anti-African American groups were doing. I mean, yeah, they haven't taken it one step further and putting burning crosses on trans people's lawns, but it's kind of scary when you see people who are just so fucking out of their mind that they think that, because Bible says this, it's automatically the truth. And no, it's not, because, again, and not to go in a huge religious rant, but anytime I ask a religious person to explain to me where in the Bible it says that transgender people are an abomination, they usually point to things that have absolutely nothing to do with transgender people. So, yeah, fuck you guys. Like, seriously, anyone out there that wants to shove a Bible in my face and say that I'm an abomination, at the end of the day, it would be really funny to find out that you end up in hell and I don't. Because at the end of the day, I'm not judging anybody. But people are judging me. And it's fucking retarded, it's ridiculous, and it needs to end. So take care, guys. Look out for future videos. If you like these kind of rants and I understand that this is not technology anymore. This is not really video game related, but this is kind of serious. I consider myself a trans activist at this point. And, I want to fight for my rights because at the end of the day, I shouldn't have to worry about using the bathroom and having someone flag me as trans and hit me with a fine or put me in jail for 5 years for just fucking using the bathroom. Like, what the fuck? So take care.